Hey there guys, long time no see. Sorry about that. I haven't been very good at making updates or posting tutorials, but here I am. And today I wanted to show you guys a little technique or sanding that I do on some of my pieces. Because I know sometimes after you do your sanding, it can leave some white residue on the top of your piece. And I'm just going to show you the steps that I take to get rid of all of that. So this is a piece that's just out of the oven, so raw, has some, some little holes in it, some little pieces that aren't quite so smooth, rough edges, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you how I get from this to this with no resin and no varnishing. Okay, this is all just sanding and buffing, and it's actually relatively fast. It doesn't take that long at all, and it's perfectly safe. You don't have to worry about using resin and that kind of thing. So let's get to it. I'll show you how I do it. So usually what I do is I'm going to start by just throwing the piece itself into some water. And then I prefer to use regular sandpaper. That's just my preference. Some people like to go straight to their drill, and that's fine too, but I don't know, I just find that there's something about regular sandpaper that it just gives you a smoother finish than the drill. Again, just a matter of preference. So I'm going to start with something like this, like a 240, and again, I'm just going to put it in the water. And make sure that you do get sandpaper that is specific for wet sanding, and it will make a difference because the other ones, they may tear a little bit easier if you don't. It doesn't need to be sopping wet, so you just kind of, and you don't even need a whole lot of pressure, really. I'm not pressing that hard at all. Okay, just kind of smooth it out, front and back, and I'm going in a circular motion. And that's just going to help with leaving any marks. It's just going to be a bit more uniform. And then I'm just going to take this, and this one has, of course, straight edges on it, but even something round. I'm just going to go around the edges and just make sure that they're all smooth and get rid of any burrs or anything that I don't want in there. And I'm going to smooth out any points that might be a little bit too sharp. Okay. Let's do that pretty quickly. Move that in there, and then I'm going to go down to a 400. It's a little bit smoother. So remember, on your sandpapers, the lower the number, the higher the grit, meaning the rougher it is, and the higher the number, the lower the grit, and the smoother the paper is. Okay, so same thing, again, not a ton of pressure. You really don't need that at all, unless you have some really rough edges that you need to get rid of on your piece. Okay. Okay. Rinse that off, and then from there, I'm going to a 600. And I'm not entirely sure, but I am in Europe, and I don't know if the sandpaper grits are the same as they are in the United States or elsewhere in the world. But basically, I'm going from a medium grit to a very fine grit. And it's not the finest grit you can get, but it's pretty close. Okay, so again, circular motion. And of course, this is, depending on the size of the piece, easier or harder to do. Okay, and then when I get about here, I usually roll up the paper if I have a circle cut inside, and I'll just stick it in the center so I make sure, and I'll go around the back too to do that. Okay. Then from there, I'm going to a 2500, and this is going to be my last one. So as you can see, it's real quick, just a real quick sand on each one of those. Nothing terribly difficult. I mean, of course, more pieces you have, it does get tiring, so I usually break them up if I have a whole lot of pieces that I'm working on. I'll break them up and I'll do a few at a time. Totally up to you how you wanna work. Okay. So feels pretty good to me. So I'm gonna take a paper towel. Just give that a quick pat, dry that off a little bit. I'll wait for that to dry off completely. Okay. And from here, you should be able to feel with your fingers that it's definitely smoother than what you started with. And you can see the difference. Again, this one being raw, just out of the oven, and this is the one that we just sanded. Okay, so from here, you can still see that it looks a bit dull. You might be able to see that there's some white residue in there, so we want to be able to get rid of all of that. Okay, I'm just going to take this water away. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to use a little bit of wax. And again, as I mentioned, I am in Europe. I'm in Italy. So this is a wax that I found at my hardware store. And it's a delicate wax, 900, which is the name of the brand. And it is a neutral. So it has no shade, no coloring to it. Okay, and this one says that it's a fresh flower scent, but honestly, I really can't smell anything. Doesn't really smell like it has much of a scent to me. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we'll take that, and again, you can see it's kind of dull, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of this wax on my finger, and I'm just gonna, and you'll see right away how it changes. You see that? Okay, and I'm just gonna rub it all along on the front and on the back, and I'm gonna make sure I get inside that circle. Okay, and then from there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our drill. And mine is, I use the Parkside drill, and this is again, for those of you in Europe, this is from Lidl. I've had this for a long time. I've probably had this for about 10 years, and it works great. And all of the drill bits that you find for Dremel or any other hand drill are going to work just fine. You can attach it to them. Lidl, of course, as you know, doesn't always have all their stuff in stock. It's one of those things that when they have their tool week, that you might be able to find. Anyway, any kind of hand drill will work. Dremel, generic brand from Amazon, it doesn't matter. They'll all work. As you can see, my bit here is pretty well worn, and that's what we want. We want to use something that's been used quite a bit so that it's really nice and soft. And this is one of the felt bits, and I'll link it in the comment or in the description below so you can find it, and I'll link both for Europe and for the US. Okay, so I've put a little layer of wax on there, and you can see that it's pretty much dried already. So now, with your drill on high speed, and that really does make a difference, so make sure that you're using a nice high speed, and it does take some getting used to, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure. You really want to go, you want to press lightly when you're touching the drill to the piece. You just need a real light touch, and I'll show you how that works. Now, I'm going to be wearing a mask, so if my voice sounds a little bit more muffled, that's why. And you do want to wear a mask because these things are going to fly all over the place, and you really don't want to be breathing those in, okay? So I'm sure we all have a surplus of those these days. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start, and you'll be able to see right away how this changes. can see there how it's already starting to shine just over on the side that I've already buffed, and how it's still a bit dull on the other side. So you're going to start to see a difference right away. And again, I'm using a circular motion as I'm buffing this out. Just want to do the same motion that you did with the sandpaper. Now this is because I'm using gold. You'll see that there's a little bit of line, and that's just pigmentation, the mica powder in the clay. So that's not going to go anywhere, but that's okay. I don't personally mind it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just buff around the edges. And this is the part that's really going to take a little bit of time, but again, it's still not, it's not anything that's going to take forever. I mean, of course, yeah, if you have a lot to do, it can get tedious, but I personally don't mind. Alright, I'm going to turn off the drill a second and put a little bit more wax on there. We're almost there. We're almost there. We don't need a whole lot. Sorry, it's out of frame there for a second. as you're going, it may take a little bit of a learning curve before you find the right pressure that works for you and the right speed that works for you. But again, I like to use a higher speed on your drill. That's really what's going to contribute to the amount of shine that you're going to get on your pieces. You see it starting to come to life there. Okay? And then just keep going for as long as you want to get the kind of finish that you want. And this will also take out any nicks that you might have in there. It'll smooth out the surface a little bit more too, even after you've sanded. Just make sure that they're nice and perfect and feel good to the touch. And that feels pretty good to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there, but you can keep going if you want to get an even higher shine. But as you can see, it gives it a really, really nice finish. This is the other one, and I actually just went a little bit longer on that one. So you can keep going until you reach a shine just like that. Okay? And I also should mention that, as we know, not all clays are created alike, and not all of them are going to buff to a super shine like that. So the ones that I'm using here in these pieces are mostly Sculpey Primo, but there's also a bit of Fimo Soft and Fimo Professional mixed in there. And there might even be a little bit of Kato Poly Clay. I don't remember exactly, but Kato Poly Clay is actually known to buff up to the highest shine. But these do pretty good too. Okay, so I hope you guys found that helpful. If you have any questions or any comments or any other tips and tricks, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And like always, be sure to like, comment, share, follow, and subscribe. All right, thanks guys. Bye.